So in this section, we're still just going to be using the sum and difference identities. These problems are going to have given me a little bit of information. So find the sign of alpha minus beta, where the sign of alpha is equal to 3/8, and in quadrant 2, and the cosine of beta is equal to 12/13 in quadrant 4. So we're looking for the sign of alpha minus beta. So if you think about it off of our sheet, that's telling us the sign of alpha minus beta is going to be equal to the sign of alpha, the cosine of beta, minus the cosine of alpha, the sine of beta. So if you notice here, I was already given what the sine of alpha was and what the cosine of beta is. So I know this part right here, but I don't know the cosine of alpha or the sine of beta. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two triangles in the correct quadrants for these pieces of information. So for this first one here, we have some angle. It's in quadrant 2. And so we know the reference triangle is going to have to come down here. And we know that the sine is 3/8. So the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. And so I have to use Pythagorean theorem to find what I'm missing. So a squared plus 3 squared equals 8 squared. So a squared plus 9 equals 64. A squared is equal to 55. A is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of 55. But because I'm on the negative x-axis, it's going to be negative the square root of 55. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this cosine problem. So the cosine's in quadrant 4. So we've got an angle going all the way around this way. We're going to make a reference triangle. So remember, cosine is the adjacent 12 over the hypotenuse 13. And so if we do 12 squared plus b squared equals 13 squared, we get 144 plus b squared equals 169. And so if I subtract that, b squared is going to be 169 minus 44 is 25. Oops. So b is going to be plus or minus the square root of 25. And that is plus or minus 5. Since b is going down here, our b is going to be that negative 5. So now I have all the parts that I need. I can just read stuff off of these two triangles I made. So we already know the sine of theta is 3/8. The cosine of beta is 12/13. So the cosine of alpha so the cosine of alpha, so remember this graph here is the alpha graph, and this graph here is the beta graph. So if I'm looking for the cosine of alpha, it's going to be minus the square root of 55/8. So minus square root of 55/8. And the sine of beta would be down here, so it's the opposite, negative 5 over the hypotenuse 13. So it's negative 5/13. So if I work these out, I get 36 over 104 minus 5 square root of 55 over 104. So this would be 36 minus 5 square root of 55 all over 104. So it's not too terrible. You just have to make the triangle for each one of those and then just calculate from that triangle what exactly it is that you're looking for.